Jennifer from Belladonna's Botanicals, and this is another installment of This Old Witch Journal in my occult origin story series. I've actually been enjoying going back through and reading some of these things that I wrote over 20 some years ago, almost 30 years ago in some cases. These are all journals that I wrote and things that back in the 1990s. Some of you probably were just born then. I'm old. So a lot of these go back to when I was in high school and college and after college and into my early to mid 20s. I find that it's been really interesting, and I do have a playlist that has all my occult origin stories and this old witch journals in them, so you can watch them anytime. I don't know that there's any particular. Well, I mean the original origin stories videos I kind of recorded like part 1, part 2, part 3, and maybe part 4. But these are a little different, so I'm going to delve in, and I just dug up another one today. This one will be coming soon. This is the Dance of Death, and this was sort of my ode to the end of the millennium. This was written between January 28th, 1999 and March 12th, 1999. Damn, I wrote a lot in that amount of time. Shit. I have not read this one yet. I don't know really necessarily how occulty it is. It's probably maybe a little bit. It's probably a little more on the bad goth poetry side of things, but hey, so that's the coming soon. But so this one is interesting because I have everything transcribed in this, which I think I showed in the last video journal. Which is, I'm going to name the video differently just so I don't get flagged by YouTube censors, but it is called Poetical Terrorism. That was the name of it. Or More Than You Ever Wanted to Know About Me. This was also written in 1999. Okay, so this was written after this one. So I wrote this May 13th, 1999, and I finished it December 31st, 1999. Well, hell with an L. So what it says on the inside, the inside cover, and that's just written backwards. It says research. Oh, that's funny. Apparently this was in the time frame in which I was moving to Philadelphia, and I wrote my old zip code on here so I would remember it. Rants, poetry, thoughts, dreams, randomness, cut up, poems, manifestos, irony, general silliness, my thoughts on the world today, satire, society, religion, politics, current events, my life, soliloquies, experiences, visions, my thoughts on the past tense, history, wars, personal issue, future, parentheses, question mark. This is done in an effort to make peace with the demons from within or just to waste more paper. At least I'm honest about things. Now, some of what is in this book, when it gets into sort of the prophecy part of it, I'm not going to read everything in it because not everything is relevant to my occult origin stories. But a lot of it, I'm going to kind of show you this sort of now. Someone's old email address from apparently 1998 that I used to work with that was stuck to on a post-it on the inside. So some of this was just the direct channeling. I mean, I know this is a real sexy grimoire here. Look at my wide ruled, probably mead notebook that is completely, the glue is falling out. So, but this was a lot of the direct channeling and things that I wrote about the visions. So this is like kind of what ended up getting translated into this book. There's paper in here. There's just other things written on papers. Yeah, there's some. Oh, I know what this was. I was channeling, or was doing someone I worked with. Their brother had died in a motorcycle accident, and I was contacting him from the other side. And that's really interesting to kind of read this. I don't know if I put this part in there since it was personal and specific to a particular person. Interesting. I did make a note at the end here that she needed to do a purification of the spirit, soul, mind, and body, having a ritual bath, salt, herbs, incense, rose petals, candles, and crystals. Funny how that's kind of what I do for a living. Only this was, did I date this? This was probably sometime in the 1998, 1999. But you can kind of see like how things are written in here. It looks like I made contact a couple times. And again, as I've shown many times, is we've got our funny little symbols. Again, a lot of symbols. Well, we don't use that word anymore. Apparently I had some type of reading, I would guess a past life reading, with someone named Susan. She was talking about my past lives and that I was a Romani, not the word that I used here. So anyways, a lot of symbols, a lot of random things. This part, I'm not sure if you can kind of read it. It's just kind of scribbled in. I may have translated this, and yeah, I think I read this one before, so I recognize some of the words. I think this was in the last video I did, the Dreaming in Symbols one. But yeah, occasionally I scribble figures. Again, we've got another figure and some symbols. Well, that's interesting. Meditation, September 30th. I'm guessing this, I don't know if this was 98 or 99. Very open, very alone. Year 2033. So that's 10 years from now. Loss of population, very dark, interrupted. Don't hold me to that. And I don't want to be right, but it gets creepy, the other stuff that's in here that kind of, well, but we'll get to that. And here's some more of my sigil and symbols. I don't know what any of these mean. And that's what's so fascinating is like when I go through and look at, all these different symbols and sigils for different entities and whatnot. Like, some of these look similar, but I mean, they're so clear. Like I don't know. Like, do I have my own language? Is there just like a Gen language out there? Another scribbly face. Well, this was talking about stuff that was going to happen in 2011 to 2013. So this is where I started writing the prophecy part of it, which I had to kind of put out. So all of this, what was interesting about this, because I mean, you have to like remember, well, or recognize the during the mid to late 90s, because of the whole Y2K, the turning of the millennium, everyone thought the world was going to end. And if that wasn't it, then 2012 and the Mayan prophecies around that. So there was a lot of a lot of prophecy, a lot of predictions and things like that. There were entire documentary series on how the world was going to end in 1999 or 2012 or in that period of time. But for whatever reason, when I started writing about this, is I wrote, everything that I wrote happens after 2013. So now we're in 2023. So everything that I was writing about was kind of after that. So I kind of outlined a list. Is number one says the plague, quote unquote, living death, the fall of Christianity, the fall of political structure, the fall of America due to economic collapse, Japan earthquake 2009, which is interesting because that earthquake was 2011. Some of the things were before 2013 that I'd written about. Reversal of past mistakes, doomed to repeat the past. 4.7 billion people will die. Plagues, wars, loss of technology, revolutions, final rebirth after all the turmoil after 2013, plus reversion to the old ways, worship of earth nature. So, I just started writing a lot of things down here, and, kind of goes on and on. And I'll get to the more official reading. I'm just kind of showing you the pages and pages of things that I wrote. The one that freaked me out when I first dug this book out 3 years ago, and if we remember what year it was 3 years ago, it was 2020, is these two little tiny words I wrote down here in the corner where it says China plague. Yeah, that I'm pretty sure the book went flying across the room when I read that. Because why I wrote that there, I don't know. But it was about something originating from China that was not good. And I don't want to say any other words that will get me flagged. Well, it just fell out of there. But it's really interesting too, and I think I've pointed this out. Like on one page, this is probably showing backwards, but it's like my handwriting just changes. Like it goes from this, really tiny organized script to, very big, billowy script. Oh, so this was 1998. I wrote this because I have a note later in here from, I think that was in 98, maybe it's 99, from November 3rd, 1998, about interesting. No, it's just apparently a reading that I had at the time. Okay, so this is where some of these names come from. Like I mentioned in the previous video, Seth Akamet, which I think was Sekhmet, Mina Ka, Tiasa Mesha. Had a male Egyptian protector guardian as a main guide back then. It's weird because I connected more with the Egyptian stuff back then, and I haven't really in recent years. More symbols and words I don't know what they mean. Oh, this was another I guess I was, hold on, let me look at the notes. I think I was channeling somebody's grandfather. And again with her brother. And some strange scribblies. Zaldoran. I don't know what that is. Somebody's astrological chart I never finished. That's a very weird astrological chart. Wow, that is... Everything is all just in one quadrant. I think it was a person that was mega Scorpio or something. I think that's all I have in here. So a lot of... Well, that's nice. On the back of the thing it says, "Tonight you sleep in hell." So anyways, that's where some of the stuff in here comes from. I know this is a very lengthy, splotchy, but apparently, introduction to what I'm going to get to. This video might end up being fairly long, or I'm going to split it into a couple parts. But since the introduction is already 15 minutes into this, so without further ado, we're going to start going through this book. Um, so it starts out with some journaling, some thoughts on stuff that was going on. That's interesting. A thought for the day from May 15th that year, which is basically translates to tell me you're autistic without telling me you're autistic. Anyways, something I wrote about high school shootings, which must have been, it was right after Columbine, given the date. So I go on to talk about some random memories from my childhood. I think I've read one of these. Those child experiences. I think I read the Anna Battles Death one on my last live stream. Yeah, another problem of I don't know that I'm autistic, but I'm autistic and I don't understand the world. Yeah. Okay, so I think this might be where it starts because it has parts 1 through, or I don't know what the hell it is, 2013. Oh, maybe it's, I wrote the, who knows. This is when did I say I started this? This was 1999. I was 24 years old in 1999, and now I am ancient. The future holds death, mass death, plague, pestilence, death. No apocalypse, no fire brimstones. As all things be it man-made war, man-made pandemics, plagues, man-made overpopulation, man-made disaster and death. 3/4 of the population will perish. There will be souls alive. There are now more souls alive right now than there ever have been alive. In 1900, 1.65 billion people existed. In 2000, 5.9 billion people exist. And the population has grown, because I think we're up to about 7 billion now in 2023, but don't quote me on that. Population has quadrupled. Death is population control. Wars and plagues happen for a reason. We are doomed to repeat the past. Mass death will not come until 2013. I have 4.3 for some reason written in parentheses. I just don't know why this year sticks in my head. It just does. Will there be a third Antichrist? Maybe. The end is the death of the human spirit soul. Parentheses, inquisitions, bubonic plague. Man cannot control disease nor weather. This will do us in. Living death. Still alive, but flesh rots, skin eaten away, hardened, atrophied muscles. The mind is still intact, but physically the flesh is death, covered in bugs, worms, maggots, and flies. If we don't stop the slow suicide, mass genocide will occur. The end never ends. Ghosts and fairies trapped in glass jars, a shift in the balance, traditional good versus evil. Can you see it happening? So this now goes into some past life experiences, dreams and hauntings, odd experiences. So this kind of goes a little bit between what I talked about in the prophecy stuff and then also like some of my early experiences, which I may have covered in some of the other occult origin stories. I noted here, I know I've lived before. My soul is very old. I've had visions of past lives since I was a small child, at least 6 years old. They vary in eras, time, location, and whatnot. If you believe in something, it is true, at least in your mind, own mind. I know who I am. This century I have lived maybe 2 or 3 times already, always dying very young. Number one, I was a young male German soldier in World War II. I wrote Buchenwald in question marks, possibly. When I close my eyes, I can still feel the crisp chill of frigid winter air. Snow falls upon my skin, mixed with the ashes from the incinerators. I feared the leader of the no-no Germans, since I can't actually use proper words because fucking censorship. I feared being German. I remember holding tight to my gun and praying that night. I haven't explored much more of this life, but I do have a very clear picture, memories of Germany during this time period. Two, I feel linked to the 1920s, uh, parentheses, flapper girl, question mark. Numerous times I've been told that I look like actresses from that era, Theda Bara, Louise Brooks, to name a few. It's the style and cut of my hair. I always had like the black pixie bob cut for most of that time period of my life. Not as colorful as I am now. That was like my default hairstyle. Um, so I go and say it's the style cut of my hair, my face, my makeup, my clothes. I'm not sure if this life really relates directly to the vision of the little girl with the blonde hair, Camille Christiana. And three, the visions of the little girl I had for 18 years now. They come and go. They're not dreams. They're not from a film. They are memories. They take place possibly late 1890s, early 1900s. The setting is southern, perhaps Georgia or Louisiana. The visions are always of a girl and a boy. The girl, Camille Christiana, is young, between 4 to 6 years old. Very beautiful with long flowing blonde hair. She is dressed in a Sunday dress, which is white with a white belt in the middle. The boy had curly strawberry blonde hair. He was wearing a white button-down shirt with black suspenders and pants of a reddish brown color. He looked a lot like the girl. Perhaps he was her brother. The girl was kneeling at the edge of the lake that went out on an angle. I kind of drew a little. Yeah, I can see it. It seemed to have a gray gravel dirt shore, which I read has graveyard dirt shovel. I work too much. If you know, you know. There were many flowering trees that surrounded the lake. There were petals on the ground. They had fallen from the trees. There was a house made of painted red wood, built up on one side with stilts, which formed a porch above it. Inside the house, there was a party going on where the girl's parents were, outside by the lake. The girl was kneeling, holding a semi-wilted flower, a bluish purple lily or tulip. Tears were rolling down her face. The young boy, parentheses, question mark, her brother, approached her and put his hand on her shoulder. He came down a long, winding dirt road with gravel on it. The girl then places the flower in the water as the tears are rolling down her face. There's a scream and some sort of commotion. There's a doll floating in the water, and the girl and the boy disappear. The next vision flashes to an open area outside of the woods. There are many people in fancy dress around. There's much confusion and commotion. There's an old ambulance sort of vehicle and a stretcher carrying a body away. The next vision takes us to a place which seems to be my grandmother's backyard. Okay, so this is interesting. My grandmother's house shows up, as still does, very often as a place of power in a lot of my dreams. So that might be significant there. Um, so in this one, at her house where the yard should be, the girl is kneeling on top of the hill. Again, she is crying. She's in the same white outfit. She's holding a dying flower, the same one from the previous vision. The boy comes up from behind her and puts his hand on her shoulders, and they begin rolling down the hill. They were laughing as children would. As with the first vision, the scenario was colorfully ornate with flowering trees and flowers which encompassed the entire hill. Upon their descent, they came to a house by the stream. They were both on the ground. The house was colorful with many flowers and trees around it. The visions and with a scream, or the vision ends with a scream as with the other visions. No words are spoken. The next vision is the most prevalent as it involves a young child entering the cemetery on a hill with black wrought iron gates and fencing. I come across was of me as a child, entering the cemetery on a hill with a black wrought iron gates and fencing. I come upon a grave, and it was by a tree and a bush. There were two bluish purple tulips and lilies in front of the well kept grave. The name on the gravestone read Peacock. The first name is Camille Christiana. This may be the name of the young girl. Also within the vision, the girl is kneeling at the grave, then disappears. I notice on the gravestone a small handprint on the grave and a dying flower on the ground. The next vision was in a field. The girl was at the end of the field. The boy was at the other end. They're running towards each other. It's a spring summer day, and I can feel the warmth. It ends just as they are about to reach each other. Then it all goes black. The next vision is again of the girl and the boy. They're close to the stream. Something seems to keep them apart. The girl says, "Come back, my brother, my dear brother, come back." Her voice is almost a vague whisper. She uttered, "Please come back. I need you to come back." The last vision was of the girl being chased through the woods by two men with axes. They were rugged and uneducated. I'm not sure how all these visions interrelate. So these visions I had in this particular, instance, these started when I was 6 years old, and went all and happened all throughout my childhood and adolescence. And I mean, I haven't had any visions or dreams or anything related to this in decades at this point, but it was something that was very prevalent in my early life. So, I feel like this part, I talked about this because this was something I pulled in through one of the first journals I did, the Dreams, Visions, and something else. It was the first episode I did of this Switch journal. So, yeah, I talked about that. Yeah, that one I did. That I did. Okay, so yeah, I got through that. That's interesting. I don't know if I noted. I don't think I noted this in the last one, in the video that the rest of that part was in. I had a weird experience. This would have been about 1994, maybe. I had a weird experience at the time. I worked in my college library. I was paging through a book of German landscapes and houses. I came to this beautiful stone house with waterfall rolling down a hill in the front, and I began to hysterically cry. I remember this, yeah, as if I'd seen it before. I could offer no explanation as to why it upset me so much. It's almost like I'd seen it before, but I never actually have, because I've never actually been to Germany. Okay, so now we're back to the girl and the boy. So during this, maybe in 1994, I don't know if I talked about this in the last one, in one of the other videos. If I did, apologies, you get to hear it again. During a visualization meditation on the element of water in 1994, I was drawn back to the same vision, the girl with the blonde hair and the white dress kneeling at the edge of the lake that went out on an angle. The boy comes down from behind. She's holding a blue, well, now I say it's a lilac versus or no, maybe a lily. I have a hard time with handwriting. The next scene is missing, and then the lily is floating away in the water. This time, the scene missing was filled. When I began to visualize feeling the water, I saw the girl falling towards the water, trying to understand it. I always thought the boy had drowned her, but I saw him reaching towards her to help her. Then the blue lily / tulip was floating away. When I tried to concentrate on the sound, all I could hear was the noise from the red house that had been built up on stilts. There was a gathering inside. The girl fell face down in the water, and the boy's hand was on her shoulder, trying to pull her back up. Before, he always had her hand on her shoulder before she drowned, which made me believe he had drowned her. So, ooh, that's interesting. Okay, so this I think is might be one of my first experiences with Lucifer. So it goes on to say the most powerful vision I had was in August 1994. I was in a circle of stones surrounded by a forest grove. The full moon shining down. I was wearing a long flowing robes. I was standing at the center of the circle. Behind me was a male figure in all black. He wrapped his arms around me from behind, but they were not arms, they were black wings. He was trying to protect me from something. After this, I felt so safe, so calm when this image was called to mind. In a sense, I could feel his arms slash wings wrapped around me, protecting me. And it's so weird because it's like I reading these things, like I can still like visualize them as I did then. Uh, okay, so now we're on to my first experiences with black magic and demons. In November 1993, my old roommate was having problems with her psycho ex boyfriend who was trying to place quote unquote bad spells on her. He was building an altar and sending his ill will towards us. I went into a trance like state. She and another friend were there. I saw a cross with a white dress nailed to it within a ring of fire around it. In a forest, there were black figures, beings with no features. I felt myself being chased, falling, rolling down a hill. In reality, I felt like I was actually rolling down a hill. The two figures, demons, were after me. I was in a very deep trance. I was so scared. I wanted to get out. I kept trying to pull myself out of it. This is also my first experience with like sleep paralysis. Finally, I did. I pulled myself out of the trance too fast. When I awoke, I did not have a voice. I could not speak at all. My friend helped to pull me out. I remember him holding on to my face, trying to get me to speak. He kept saying, "Do you hear me?" And I kept mouthing the word yes, but it was inaudible. He kept asking me if I was okay. He kept telling me to say it. I was crying with irregular breathing patterns. My eyes were fluttering. He kept telling me to look at him. I had to work my voice back from a vague whisper to up to normal. Eventually, I came out of the state. Oh, I remember that because I was literally like in a fetal position in like the dorm because it was in my dorm room in college, in bed. I told Jen the story about the white dress on the cross, and she said it symbolized her the name and the name of her spirit guide. Um, so I don't remember if I talked about that in the other video, but that was it. So here is another one for uh, the meditation with the girl, Camille Christiana. I was giving information regarding her mother and more background information on that. Okay, so that came from, that was the first kind of stuff that was in this book. So her mother used the stage name of Signet Rose Black. She was a dancer, like cabaret, vaudeville performer, actress. The Black Rose. Her real name was Cecilia May Peacock. Peacock was her married name. Sissy, I guess, was what they called her. Her features: she was pale, ethnic, full lips, wide dark eyes, short black curled hair. She was about 5'4" and 135 pounds. Well, that's very specific. Blue eyes, wore dark, crushed charcoal eye makeup. Personality wise, she was very self censored, beautiful, feisty, zany, dramatic, fiery, fast paced, spirited. She had two children: Camilo Christiana, who was 4.5, and Joey, who was 6. Joseph Richard. I noted he was still alive. She was born in 1901 and died in 1929, very young. After the death of Camille Christiana, her death was related to alcoholism, possible stroke, or seizures. And the era was the 1920s, prohibition, alcohol parties, pre-depression era, beaded fringe dresses. She had moderate wealth, family money, husband question mark unseen slash dead, smoked thinly rolled cigarettes from a silver holder. The house was a red house built up on stilts against a small hill and the small gravel dirt road with a triangular lake with flowering trees. And those Solate di Merate, Sonulania Pradier. No idea. The son, Joseph Richard Peacock, is still alive. Well, there you go. Okay, so this related to a friend of mine. Not okay, so it wasn't me, I don't think, or was it? Let me read this. A lot of my touches were down clairvoyant, spiritual. Just a spirit guide. This is about a spirit guide. Might have been a friend's spirit guide, one that crossed over. There's a goddess of prophecies. Okay. How long are we into this phase? So we are about 35 minutes. I'm going to cut this into maybe into two parts. Let me see how long this is. Okay. Interesting. So, do I want to do this? I guess I can do this. I can do this. Yeah, I'm gonna do this as a second part. So stay tuned for part 2.